Back to the Unbearable Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Barron, and joining me as always, my co-host, Blake Barron. And Blake, we got a great show. We have the Baltimore Ravens coming into Soldier Field, 6-3 versus 3-6. We're going to be previewing that game today. But first, Blake, how are you, my friend?
Not too shabby, Brad. Not too shabby. I mean, Halo Infinite. I don't know if anyone plays Halo Infinite. Super fun game. I'm so jacked that came out. I know that game kind of was like your childhood, like high
Oh,
school,
yeah.
college game, which is funny because that's like 20 years ago because it's the
Yeah. Thanks
20th
for reminding me.
anniversary. But it's funny how, I think I started playing when it was Halo Reach. And then, you started on the original one.
It might have been Reach that was inside of my college dorm because I remember it was some Halo game. Like they all blend together for me because I never had a normal Xbox. So I just remember everybody playing a Halo game and it just in the dorms because we didn't have Fortnite back in the day. We had Halo.
Yeah, freshman year was all just, hey boys, want to squad up, hit the sticks on Fortnite, and now it's Warzone, and now it's actually back to Halo. So
going back.
Good.
Yeah, I think that you're going to be playing a little bit right after this. I unfortunately still have to work tonight, so after this, I'll be working. You'll be playing Halo. So good times all together. I can't wait to play Infinite because that looks so much fun. But yeah, if anyone else plays Halo, let us know, and maybe we can squad up.
Yeah.
Or I don't know if it's called squatting up in it. I'm too big of a noob for that.
Good try, Pat. No, yeah,
Yeah.
it's still
Thank
called
you.
squatting up. Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you. So let's get right into this, Blake, then. So like we said, this is a normal intro show. We did drop the little fantasy segment. We got some feedback on that. So what we're going to be first going through is some of the news, injuries, as we always do. And then we're going to be going through this Bears offense versus the Baltimore Ravens defense. Then Bears defense versus the offense, special teams, and then ending things up with game predictions. But first, let's go through a little bit of news. So, Blake, I don't know if you heard Le'Veon Bell. he's gone again. He's gone again from teams. So didn't last very long with the Baltimore Ravens and obviously is gone. So not really missing much, but unfortunate to see him let go from another team. But in Bears news and fairly big news, Teven Jenkins has now officially started to practice with the team. Huge news. And Blake, you kind of called it at the very beginning of the season when you were kind of breaking down that injury, kind of mentioned how it should only be a month or two type of process. Here he is. He's back. He seemingly is healthy, but now he's kind of starting this 3-week window, as we might all be well aware of because of Danny Trevathan and all the other people that have been on IR. So now that he's got this 3-week window, it doesn't mean that he's going to be activated this week. We could wait another week and wait till the very next game. But Blake, I got to ask, how would you handle this situation with Teven Jenkins?
Honestly, his back is back, so to speak, with the back surgery. But honestly, I think you kind of mentioned it last week. I really like the idea of having Larry Borum kind of go in that right guard spot where James Daniels is, and then have Teven Jenkins be that right tackle. I mean, Larry Borum was doing a pretty good job against Pittsburgh and these very tenacious edges. But I think we need to see something better from this offensive line, and maybe taking James Daniels out of the equation could potentially help. Because you were saying, I mean, people thought he was going to be a guard in the NFL just because he's a little smaller than normal. But
Borum or
Borum.
Daniels, because Borum's massive. Daniels was always lighter. He was always that lighter guy, then added all sorts of additional weight. And I agree. So Blake, we had this question. We posted this question out on Twitter at Unbearable Sport. Thank you if you participated. And right now, Blake, so we asked the people, where do they think Teven Jenkins should play if he's healthy? Should you have him at left tackle, right tackle, guard, just left or right, or would you bench him? Now, 45% of the people, so almost half of them, all would rather have him play left tackle.
Hmm.
A lot. I was kind of surprised by that. I don't know if they thought maybe long term, but 45% of the people that voted wanted him at left tackle. 32% wanted him at right tackle, and then 10% at guard. 13% they said just bench him,
Interesting.
which I was a little shocked at because it does kind of make sense because maybe you can move Peters at left guard. But the only thing that I don't really like about having him at left tackle, even though that they want him as the left tackle of the future, it makes me nervous because Jason Peters has been our best offensive lineman by
Mhm.
far. and and I don't know how I feel about benching him or moving him to left guard where he did play left guard last year and he just kind of struggled a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, also, I kind of think of maybe some people don't know their directions, because sometimes I always get confused. Like, is the left tackle, because the left end is on the right tackle spot. Maybe someone just gets confused, but
Yeah,
yeah, I think right tackle, like putting him at guard, I feel like he's just way too big, to have him in that guard spot.
yeah.
Um, and maybe the people that are saying just, like, rest him, maybe just think maybe he's just not ready yet because, I mean, heck, like, coming off of back surgery, we don't know how much he's been able to, we always talk about this position being chemistry based, and you need to be in sync with the guys, and if you haven't been practicing with them, I mean, he might not do very well when he starts.
He did look massive. He just
Yeah.
recently got engaged, and I was seeing him, and you normally see offensive linemen, and they're big people, but he just looked wide. Like he looked very, very wide. So hopefully that means that he is in fact in football shape. But yeah, I agree with you. I think what the Bears are going to do and kind of bringing this back into this week, I don't necessarily think he's going to be playing this week. I've heard from a lot of people that he might not be playing. We still have to monitor that. That's what we're going to keep everyone up to date on Twitter and on Instagram. So this is just something to monitor. But I do feel like if he comes back, right tackle might be the best spot because they wanted him at left tackle. He was taking some snaps at left. I'd rather just have him at right tackle because I think when we look at this offensive line, the biggest weak spots are Mustafa, and Borum hasn't been bad, but he's in my opinion, the second weakest spot on this line. So I like the idea of having him at right tackle because then you can have him potentially beat out Borum. And if you really like Borum, like you said, Blake, shift him to right guard and then move Daniels or Whitehair, whoever you want at center, whoever you want. Daniels was left guard last year and was a lot better than what he's doing right now.
Brad, I wish the Twitter polls were because you can only have them at at 4 things, right?
Yeah.
I wish you could do 5 because I think it'd be
Right?
perfect to see who's, like, everyone's favorite or, like, least favorite offensive line because I feel like we're always, like, undoubtedly Mustafa, but I
Yeah.
feel like there might be some people out there that just absolutely love him and, thinks he's the GOAT, but
Yeah, it's exactly. And it's going to be hard. I mean, you don't want to be making a lot of offensive line changes in the middle of the year. We're not there every single day. So, unfortunately, we have to trust the Bears. We have to trust Castillo that he's going to make the best option. And honestly, I would not be that angry if you waited a couple weeks for him to get back and you just have to weigh the options because you want him as your left tackle of the future. Do you want him playing the opposite side or do you want to move people around? It's just something we're going to have to monitor. But Blake, that was a big news topic.
mhm.
So let's, though, continuing off of those injuries, Blake, you got the injury report for us. What's kind of happening after this bye week?
I mean, it's what we expected. I mean, everyone basically sounds like they're coming back. I mean, the only like Eddie Jackson is going to be back from his hamstrings supposedly. I mean, all these things are not official yet. But same with Khalil Mack. He's supposed to be able to come back from his foot. And then Akeem Hicks, we are kind of unsure from his ankle injury last game, but it seems like he got the nice well rested he needed over the bye week. He still didn't play. All these guys I named, Eddie Jackson, Akeem Hicks, Khalil Mack, A-Rob, they all did not play this week today at practice, but they are expected to play on
Okay.
Sunday.
That's good to hear, because when I saw 6 or 7 no participants, including
Yeah.
Jimmy Graham, with his, like, you have another veteran day off when you just had an entire freaking week off. Come on, man. Like, seriously. So, but yeah, that's none of my business. But yeah, when you have 6 people off, yeah, it was definitely concerning. But like you said, you expect all of them to play. So having Khalil Mack back, having Akeem Hicks and all those people. Awesome. So let's switch this over. Now that we're done with kind of this beginning overview segment, Blake, let's get into this Bears offense versus this Baltimore Ravens defense. So this Baltimore Ravens defense, we always like to pull up DVOA. DVOA, not huge fans of them. They ranked them 25th according to Football Outsiders metrics numbers. So not a great defense according to that metric, but our offense is slowly on the incline. We're now 27th in DVOA. So we are getting there and slowly going up, but we're going to be at Soldier Field, and we know that we typically play better there. But Blake, so Justin Fields, do you think that he's going to be able to continue this hot streak going into Soldier Field?
I believe so. I mean, he's going to be in the hometown. He's off that crazy fourth quarter just drive where Cole Kmet came up to him and was like, let's keep going. Like, this is just like the beginning of it. I could just see him balling out. I don't want to jinx it or anything, but the only thing I do worry about is that they blitz a lot. And
yeah,
I mean, I just feel like every rookie quarterback except for Mac Jones in like the history of the NFL does really bad against the blitz. So that's something I just worry about. And sometimes this offensive line just isn't good at reading those blitzes. And I don't know if that's partially Justin Fields' fault for not calling out the mic, but I mean, I feel like besides that blitzing part of things, Justin Fields just feels like he's in control of this offense, like having a lot of chemistry with these receivers, including the tight ends. So I don't think it's hard to say if he's going to have that crazy fourth quarter drive the entire game, but
oh yeah,
I expect to see just plays like that throughout the game because I don't think he's just going to decline and be worse after that performance. He's going to keep it going.
Yeah, agreed. We'll see, because I don't know about you, but I've been rewatching that game, the Steelers game.
Oh yeah,
over and over again. And you kind of ignore the penalties. That's why you watch the condensed game, so that you don't see all the flags going out. You just kind of watch. and yeah, it's just absolutely incredible to see the types of throws he makes. And we've talked about this before. We're excited to see, now that they've had a little bit of extra time, now how do they look as a team as a whole. Now, Blake, let's get this moving over to the passing game, because you have this passing game to kind of break it down a little bit. So you've talked about this pass rush. Is that to you the biggest fear that you have with this defense?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, they have 19 sacks. They're the third highest rushing team, blitzing team in the entire NFL. They're very aggressive, and that's something we just have not really took advantage of in most of the games we've played. Like when you throw a lot of underneath routes, I feel like we don't really test their deep ball. We don't test them deep. Like, they always play up on us. So if we can get them to back off us a bit and throw one deep to Mooney, or have a stop and go route to A-Rob like we saw um, last week or 2 weeks ago that worked perfectly. I'm all down for that.
Yeah, that's what I was seeing too when I was watching the film. It seems like people were able to get a million big plays on these guys. I wish I had the stat of how many big plays they've let up, but in like every single game, whenever I see somebody scoring, it's because they missed a tackle, somebody's breaking free, and then they're scoring a touchdown. They're throwing it deep, and they're able to really take advantage of the lack of the lack of secondary help besides Marlon Humphrey. There's really no help back there from that safety perspective. So I really like that strategy.
Yeah, I mean, I another thing because we finally seen it from the tight ends that Justin Fields can connect with not just Jesse James but also Cole Kmet. But if they could, we talk about it a lot too. Just incorporate some screens. Like that's the number one thing you just do against a blitzing team is force them to back off by throwing screens and forcing those defensive linemen to just like second guess themselves and not just rush the QB. So hopefully they can do that. I still always like to see more Goodwin out there. I always think he gets a bad rap. I always love his speed and he just be a true threat. If we need big plays, I think he could be a big threat in that area.
Yeah, big threat, and I have a stat that, they are the 7th worst tackling defense out there with 68 total missed tackles on the season. So, it kinda backs up that claim. If we are able to then put the ball in playmakers' hands or start throwing it deep, that's how you can really attack this defense. And Blake, I kinda wanna go back to this pass rush because one of the things that they're kinda known for with this defensive coordinator is throwing exotic blitzes. And it kind of reminds me of Desai, where he'll have exotic rushing with four, where it forces you to make a decision. And that's for me one of the biggest fears that I have is as you're talking about 33 in blitz percentage, they like to send the blitz. They like to throw weird looking blitzes. They have Jason Owe, or now it's I forgot is that Odafe Owe now rather than Jason Owe. I remember him from the draft profile, but you have these quick guys, Justin Houston and Calais Campbell. They have very good players, and it will become. Before we've always talked about there was two good people to be watching. Right now, they have a solid line. They have solid blitzers, so you really kind of just have to look everywhere for them.
Yeah, they got a scary defense. I mean, they're always known for their defense, but it's weird to me that they're not ranked very high. Because yeah,
Yeah,
you look at all the guys, they still have like the same team as they did last year when their defense was doing really well. But I mean, the Vikings put 31 up against them. The Bengals put up 41. The Chargers only put up 6. But I mean, I think that might be why that they're a little higher than we expected, like ranked worse. Um, but yeah, there's other teams where they only will give them up like one score. So hopefully we can be like the Bengals and put up 41.
yeah, and that's where I was kinda curious because this team just seems ridiculously up and down. Like, you basically should have lost to the Lions, except for Justin Tucker made a 66 yard or
Yeah.
66, 67-yard field goal off the crossbar and in order to win that game. And then you get blown out, you get, by the Bengals, and then you're blowing out other teams like the Chargers. It really they're such a hit or miss team, and part of that when watching the Bengals game, it was just missed tackles, like, it was just huge plays. It's like,
Mhm.
okay, they throw it to their tight end and breaks a couple tackles, in. So, it's really about just to me, it's just getting that ball out and getting it out quicker and recognizing your first read, which seems like Justin Fields is doing a lot better.
Yeah, that seemed like his weakness. Like he always kind of looked for that bigger play, and now I think he just understands like it's all right to check down. Like I think of the best rookie. Mac Jones is the best rookie quarterback that's playing right now. Like he has the best stats, he's the best QBR and everything. He he's not afraid to check it down, which is very
Yeah.
uncanny for a rookie quarterback. And that's why I think he's doing well, and I think that would work perfectly with all these fast guys we have and playmakers. Heck, even Cole Kmet, like, you need 2, 3 guys to take him down. So,
Yeah,
give it to the playmakers.
for sure. But Blake, anything else on this passing offense that you want to bring up or talk about?
I mean, not too much. I mean, they're number 1 in knockdowns, so, they're again, they're just aggressive and they have their hands up, which, Justin Fields is known to kinda hit people's hands and throw picks to the defensive line, but
Happens one or twice.
yeah. So,
Yeah, and I do just have to call out Marlon Humphrey just because he's actually one of my favorite players because he reminds me so much of Peanut Tillman. So it's just something for us to be watching out for because like when you talk about those passes defensed, he's a guy that gets his hands on the ball, but also he's incorporated that peanut punch when somebody's running with the ball. So Allen Robinson, Darnell Mooney, just be careful when you have that ball because he's going to be going for the punch. So even though we want to make some big plays, you always need to know where number 44 is on this field. And yeah, and Patrick Queen, he's actually been getting benched a little bit more. So this kind of goes into this run defense where Patrick Queen, he was their first round linebacker out of LSU. And I was expecting to like see him on tape. And I don't know about you, Blake, but when I was watching the tape, I was going, where is Queen? Like,
yeah.
I'm trying to find him. Like, where is he in the tape? And I was looking, and I think it was ever since basically week 6. Yeah, week 6, he got 29 snaps or 19 snaps, my bad. And yeah, like hardly any snaps. And then all of a sudden, Josh Bynes, the former Bengal, starts stepping in and he's taking a lot more of Queen's playing time. It kind of reminds me of the Bears a little bit, where we have that like linebacker rotation in the middle where it's Trevathan and some Ogletree and like it's just that rotation. Right now,
Mhm.
it seems to be the Josh Bynes, Queen, and this guy, Chris Board. Them, all three of them are kind of rotating, but Queen seems to be the guy that's kind of getting the least amount of snaps. Board's been getting a little bit more, but it's just something interesting that they are rotating out their former first round draft pick of a linebacker because of just his incompetence to kind of meet his assignments and fill those gaps.
Yeah, so I mean, that takes us into the running game. You think so?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's where then when you're talking about just the missed tackles as a whole, when your linebackers aren't playing well, you're not going to be tackling as much. But also, we said in the secondary, they're also missing some tackles as well. But when I'm looking at just the overall DVOA rankings, as if this matters, they are the 15th best rush defense. So another middle of the pack run defense. But Blake, we've said this many of times. I don't care what rank this defense is, what rank this rushing defense is. Our running attack, we know, is awesome. We know
Yeah.
with David Montgomery, with Khalil Herbert, it doesn't matter what happens. We always find a way to be running the football. And I think that that's yet again how we can really kind of set the tone of this game is by pounding it down their throats. It seems to be a great way for us to do that, just kind of show that off. And we did see a little bit more of the read options with Justin Fields. And as he gets his feet involved, now they have to keep him a little bit more honest. So I really like the way that this running attack, our running attack just continues to be dominant. Hopefully now that Montgomery has had 2 weeks to nurse his injury, hopefully we start to see more of that shiftiness, more of him really being able to kind of dig his foot into the ground since it was a knee injury. So hopefully he can add more force behind a lot of those cuts because we know how shifty he is. So he needs to be generating a lot of force to kind of make a lot of those different cuts. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I again, it's like I think last week might have been our worst run. I don't even know. I feel like we just have never had a bad running week. It's always consistent. It's always like 100 plus yards. It's never like anything crazy though. It's not like, oh, we're running 200 yards, like, you know, running for 2 touchdowns, like crazy 90-yard rushing plays.
Yeah.
But honestly, this is the team where I almost feel like we could, because when you have bad middle linebackers, like we kind of experienced it, where at least we have one, at least we have Roquan. But yeah, they really don't have a very good linebackers at all.
Well, I
And
think
with
that
that,
binds. Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, Bynes is good, but with that, it's like that's where you see the missed tackles probably. That's where you probably see guys running the ball and then trying to plug up holes, and then they, get caught up and just don't get those tackles. And that kind of excites me, because that could be when we get, 15-yard gains, 20-yard gains just from a simple little run.
And that's where too, like, kind of going off of that, where this defense to me excels in third downs when it's noticeable passing downs, because that's when Justin Houston, he's a pass rusher. He comes in on pass rushing snaps. Literally more than three-fourths of his snaps are all pass rushing situations. Owe, more than three-fourths, or just about three-fourths, all pass rushing situations. Tyus Bowser is more of that just normal type of linebacker, but still majority pass rush situations. So what do they do when it's more running types of plays? Then they put in Matabuike and Ellis, two interior people that aren't phenomenal. Matabuike is very kind of middle of the road type of a defensive interior type of player. I liked him coming out of Texas A&M, but he just hasn't been amazing. He's been solid, but he hasn't been amazing. And really, the story is Calais Campbell. Calais Campbell reminds me of a better Akeem Hicks. You got to run away from him. He's
Mhm.
going to be a game wrecker in the middle. So just like Eric Armstead, you just have to identify where he's at on the field so that you know where their big guy is. It's very easy to find him too because he's 6 freaking 8. So, so at least we can identify him and make sure that we're at least just running around him. But yeah, overall though, I think that this running game has the advantage because we haven't been able to be stopped. And with Justin Fields just getting more of a heavier role and with a healthier David Montgomery, I think we roll all over them. So Blake, I said my advantage. Let's switch it back to this passing attack. Who do you think has the advantage in the passing attack? Are we finally going to say the Bears now? Do we have some Justin Fields confidence building?
I like personally deep down, like I think so. Like yes, I would say yes, but it's just I can't confidently be like, all right, our offense is there. So I'm gonna say no.
You're
That's
going to say
they got
no.
the advantage. Yeah, sadly, I'm just scared with that blitzing and everything.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this will be a great test because Blake, we said when they're not blitzing, he's able to have that time in the pocket. Now he's facing a heavy blitz team. This is the next evolution. Like we said, he's kind of showing that steady increase. He's getting better and better and better every single week. This is his next test. He's got to show us, can he stop the pass rush? And it's great that it's also at home so that it's quiet and it's not Pittsburgh, it's not some crazy stadium, it's not Cleveland where all the fans are going wild. It's Chicago. So it's going to be quiet on offense. So I'm excited to see this because I think it's going to be a lot of quick identification of that first read. So that does it for this Bears offense. So let's switch over to this Bears defense going against the exciting, the electric Lamar Jackson. Blake, do you are you scared of Lamar Jackson? I guess what's your take on Lamar?
I think he is a little scary. Every basically defense player has kind of talked about it in their press conference with how he's a running back playing quarterback. Like he can pass the ball. Like especially last year, Deshaun Gibson was saying, "Oh, he's more like a running back. Like he really didn't know how to throw it very well." But then he's like, "Yeah, this year you watch the tape and he is a quarterback officially now. Like he can
Yeah.
pass, but then he's also just the most athletic guy on the field as well. So I am scared, but when you look at the game like against Miami, he seemed like he was just rattled by their defense.
Yeah, it was fun to watch because the Miami, another team that sends the blitz a lot. And actually, let's get right into this passing game. So I got this passing game, and I think that's a perfect segue into just how to beat Lamar Jackson. And every time that I was watching him, it was almost comedic, Blake, because I'd see, because when you watch like the condensed game, or sometimes I would watch like the highlights, because it's like, okay, just show me 6 minutes of a game. I don't have time to watch every game. But whenever you saw like a loaded box and a lot of people up at that line of scrimmage, I'm like, they're probably gonna get to Lamar Jackson. He's probably gonna get rattled. What do you know? They send a blitz, they get pressure on him, he gets sacked, or he forces a throw. So to me, he really seems to struggle when you get into his face. Because then if you give him time, he's just going to sit back there, find the hole, and like you said, like a running back, he'll just start darting off. So you have to get constant pressure on Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I definitely noticed that too. It was like every single play, it seemed like Miami was like they were actually blitzing or they were like faking a blitz. Like they would have everyone like in the box and then they actually wouldn't. Um and honestly, they also did a great job like containing Lamar Jackson. Like
For
it seemed
sure.
like they just were in the right position at the right time. Um But something I guess, if we do decide to blitz a lot more, because Miami, that's what they do, and that's what rattled him. I worry about our secondary, to be honest, and because I look at Miami and they have an amazing secondary. They got
For
Xavier
sure.
Howard, they got who's the other guy,
Byron Jones.
Byron
Yeah.
Jones, another just like Pro Bowler stud. And I truly don't think they're able to blitz that much. I mean, if they don't have those guys, those
Hmm.
guys are Pro Bowlers, they're amazing. Um, and so if we do have this blitz scheme, I think our corners and our defensive backs are just gonna have to ball out and just have a day, to be honest. They're gonna have to be aggressive. They're gonna have to lock down these pretty good Baltimore receivers. Marquise Brown, Rashad Bateman is someone that I think
Yeah.
he's coming up. He's a very good receiver. I did not see him drop a single ball in that Miami
Yeah.
game. He's got hands of spider tack for sure.
That's the thing. Like Bateman coming out reminded me a lot of A-Rob. That was my big comp for him because he plays like how we wish A-Rob would play right now. He's not like a huge body possession guy, kind of like A-Rob's not the biggest of guys, but he's still able to really kind of, like you said, he's got the sticky hands. He's able to grab the ball very well. And yeah, these wide receivers are very dangerous. You're talking about Bateman, more that possession type of guy. Hollywood Brown can take the top off the defense, and Devin Duvernay, another take the top off, very fast guy out of Texas, and also that slot shifty punt returner type of frame where he's a playmaker. So they have a good amount of people that can make plays on this team. And that's why it is so crucial to get that pass rush on here. So that's why one of the biggest things is Khalil Mack needs to be back with Robert Quinn. We need to have our edges be able to kind of pin them down because they have Villanueva, the left tackle, former Steeler, that is yet again another Giant, but not playing as well as he normally does. This is kind of what I thought Jason Peters was going to be like. He kind of taken that step back. Villanueva has not performed great. And the weakness of this offensive line are these tackles. So if we can have Quinn, if we can have Gibson, if we can have Khalil Mack back, now we're talking about being able to put pressure on him because, fun fact, Lamar Jackson takes the fourth longest time to throw, 2.95. So a lot different than Ben Roethlisberger. When he has time in the pocket, when Lamar has time, he's able to dissect you. He's able to kind of loft a lot of these passes out there and make big plays. That's why we really do need to be beating our guys. We can't have the Cassius Marsh sack where everyone's blocked up and Cassius Marsh just gets this cleanup sack. We have to be in front of him. We have to be able to make those plays because he also has the number one average completion air yards, which is 7.5. So they like to throw it deep. They have the speed. We need to make sure that they don't have the time to develop those routes and really attack us deep.
I completely agree. I mean, that's what Miami did. It was he had to throw it quick, and that's not who Lamar Jackson is. He's the guy he likes rolling out. He likes kind of doing that playmaker stuff. Like he's honestly more comfortable, it seems, out of pocket than he is, right in the pocket trying to pass like Peyton Manning. He just does not. That's not who he is. So yeah, if we could just get some pressure and force him in that pocket and not get out of there and just get to him quick. I mean, it's easier said than done. I mean, heck, like, but this was the number one sack team in the
Yeah.
entire league. We used to get so many sacks, and then Khalil Mack came down, and that just went straight out the gutter.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting too just to see how they play. Like, do you stick Roquan Smith and he just follows him? Do you put DHC out there if Bojack is back instead of having like a Danny Trevathan who, God, if we had to see Danny Trevathan try and run down Lamar Jackson, it's just not going to happen. So do you kind of go with the bigger nickel to try to have some of those mismatches? But Blake, I also have a fun stat. So I always like looking at the NFL Next Gen stats. Can you guess Lamar Jackson's passer rating when he throws it down the middle of the field past 20 yards? So middle deep. So
Middle deep. Uh, well, I'll just say like 100. Like it's got to be good, right?
zero.
Oh,
0.0. And I looked and I'm
wow.
like, so he must have just never thrown. He has thrown passes deep. He just hasn't completed a pass in the middle of the field deep. And when
Huh.
I'm looking at his chart, he's kind of got the Mitch Trubisky this year so far, where he hasn't been great, but he's still been good to his left side of his body, where he's above the league average in every single zone. He's really good, really dominant in that 10 to 20 zone, all above 100. But his right side of his body, 120 deep, 137.5, 10 to 20, 109, 0 to 10.
Hmm.
I'm looking at Kindle Vildor and I'm like, crap. Because that's Kindle Vildor's side of the ball. He's going to
Yep.
be going again. That's what makes me nervous about this and why we need a little bit of help. That's also usually the Tashawn Gibson side. So we'll have to see what we do. But that Kindle Vildor could be the story of the game because if they pick on him, oh my God, it's not going to be
No
pretty.
fun.
If it's not going to be pretty, we're going to see what Kindle is made out of, and if he can kind of hang with the big boys, because so far he hasn't. So we'll just have to see, and that's where I think that the pass rush really has to dominate their tackles and be able to get that pressure because the strength of this offensive line is in the middle and our inside of our defensive line. We don't get pressure with them anyways. So not a big deal. So edges, we're counting on you. Blake, anything else that you have for some of these
No,
this
you
passing
said
game?
it. You said it perfectly, Brad. I mean, it's just can the Bears do it? Will the Sean Desai just create a game plan? And I
Yeah.
hope he
Will
does.
will we be able to limit this rushing game? So Blake, I'll switch it over to you for the answer to that. How are we going to stop it? And are we going to be able to stop this this Lamar Jackson led running attack?
Man, I don't want to keep going to the Miami's game, but like if we're if you're a defender on the Chicago Bears, they're obviously just cranking out this film because they
Yeah,
only got 94 yards. They only got 94 yards of rushing, which like might seem like a decent amount, but like for Baltimore, who basically they're sixth in running attempts, they have number three in yards, and basically translate to they have the number 5 yards per carry. So they're a very good running team, and they held them to under 100, which is pretty good. And I mean, it's just it's nice having Akeem Hicks healthy, and I think that's
for
something
sure.
that's having him and just kind of clogging up the lanes. We'll see if he can actually do that against this pretty decent, interior line, offensive line. But man, it's tough to say because Lamar Jackson, if they have read options, man, it's tough because we do have quick edges, but Lamar Jackson's just so shifty. Our problem on this defense has been kind of that missed tackles, that heart almost like that deep. I think of that Deebo Samuel just touchdown. Like it should have only been like 10 yards, but there was
Yeah,
like the
for sure.
heart, the missed tackles, the wrong positioning by a lot of players. That's where, man, Lamar Jackson on the run could, on the read option could really hurt us.
Yeah, and I think that goes into Khalil Mack needing to be back because to seal those edges, to really play smart out there. Because Travis Gibson, even though that I love him, and he's awesome, and he has that extra power. We still He still needs to develop as a player to read and react to certain things like this running game. So that is something that we do need to see out of that, and especially when they're running this kind of college style pistol formation read option, you got to take one guy. You got to figure out what guy do you take. Do you go in the middle? How do you do it? That's the hardest part about this offense is because it's stuff that you don't normally game plan for, that you have to game plan for and create an entirely separate game plan just for the Ravens.
Yeah, and it's just this game. I feel like I say it every week, but this is the game that really tests our defense, just because like we have been doing a lot worse at our running defense. Like that was our best thing, and now it's like teams are just running on us like it's nothing. Like Najee Harris, great game. Elijah Moore, I believe, for the 49ers, had just like 130 yards or something. It was not something we wanted. So hopefully, just please keep him under 100 yards, and we'll basically win the game. I think if we can stop them at this running end of the field.
Yeah, and one thing too, just to think about because of the speed, like we said with DHC, is DHC out there more than some of the linebackers? And also haven't even brought up Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews is a good blocker. He's a good receiving tight end. And you're going to have to take that into account because he's a receiver. He's a blocker. You have to stop the running game. You have to watch to see where he's at. So Desai's got his hands full for sure with all of this.
Yeah, I completely agree. He just hopefully he can drop something because just these last couple of weeks, our offense has been playing better than our defense, which is
I
not what
still
we
got to
want.
give him credit against Najee Harris though, at least because I think it was under 3 yards a carry. Even though
Yeah.
I think they ran for over 100 yards because of like end arounds and stuff like that,
Hmm.
and they kept feeding Najee too.
Yeah.
but but still, you never want to see anything like that out there. Anything else on this run attack for the Ravens?
No, I just I'm excited for football this week. That's all I'm saying. I'm just glad to see I'm glad to see the Bears out there once again.
Yeah, for sure. But then only other thing that I just want to call out because I threw it out here. I just want to look at Eric Tomlinson and Patrick Ricard. because I just like seeing a defensive tackle play fullback. It's always fun seeing Patrick Ricard out there. They like using the big bodies. Eric Tomlinson, a very focused blocking type of tight end that they love to use out there. They just say, you know what, he's going to block. Think of him as a Alex Bars, but maybe even better at blocking than Alex Bars. But having that big set with the Mark Andrews, another capable blocker, we're going to have our hands full and we're going to need these corners to be making plays. It seems like nobody gets off of their blocks. We need to start seeing some of that because, yeah, it's all fine and dandy when Duke Shelley and Eddie Jackson run in unblocked, but we need people to start shedding. That to me is the biggest thing. You got to start shedding. But Blake, this running game, just kind of recapping, sounds like you're giving the advantage to the Ravens just to make it official. Is this true?
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, they just have they're known for their running, and our running defense has not been performing the best. So give it to the old Ravens.
All right. And I'll switch it over to the passing, and I'm going to give it to the Ravens as well. Even the hardest part is I think that we don't generate pressure. We generate sacks, but I don't think we generate pressure, which I think that we need pressure. Sean Desai does not like to blitz. We're going to see, can he change his game plan to, like what you said, Blake, change it to more of the Miami Dolphins game plan, and let's see if that will actually work. But for right now, this feels bad. And not picking the defense for both. It just seems wrong. Just feels wrong. But
yeah,
Blake,
but we did it for a reason. It's just they have not been it. they have not been that bend but don't break, that defense that we were able to usually be like, all right, at least we got a good defense. And that's not how it is.
Definitely. And you know what? Do you know what's not broken?
Special teams.
Special teams. That's right. It's our favorite time where it's kind of our get back into the thing. We got the special teams review. So Blake, I got to say, what do you have for the special teams review?
Justin Tucker missed a field goal last week. So,
and Justin against Tucker, the Lions.
Even though he's Justin Tucker, I mean, he's not the best kicker in the league. I mean, Cairo Santos might be taking his spot for the future as the best kicker in the league once Justin Tucker retires, or even maybe right now. But yeah, I mean, nothing much else to say. I mean, hopefully Jakeem Grant just keeps doing Jakeem Grant things. I think Rashad Bateman is their punt returner, I believe.
So that's what I was going to bring up. Devin Duvernay, and he is good. He averages 16.3 yards a punt return. That's almost about twice as that's almost as like around twice as much as a normal punt returner gets. So we better be scoring points because he might be getting 24, like legit. He might be getting like 24 yards of punt return against us because we have not been able to cover punt return. So he's a game breaker, like I said. And 16 yards of punt return, about 25 for kickoff. So kind of an average number, but still that 16 is nuts. And but then besides that, though, like you said, Justin Tucker always got to watch out. And then we're back in Chicago. You got the swirling winds. So we're ready to get we got to get back into the swing of things. The thing I am going to check out, though, this, as we know, kicking is such a head case. It's such a head game. It's all about where you're at mentally. And to me, I just want to make sure that Cairo Santos is all right. He had his long streak of kicking field goals. Just want to make sure, hey, you missed it. Just keep on doing your thing. It sounds like an overreaction, but I just want to see because we know how sensitive kickers are. So Cairo, we still love you. And hopefully he just hits the ground running and gets right back into the swing of things and gets things going. But Blake, that about does it for this special teams review. Let's start going in to the game predictions. So the game predictions, we kind of are broken now. We don't know Blake, your perfect streak has been broken, where now we are kind of out there with the predictions. I'm actually going to try and load our predictions right now. But as I'm doing that, actually, let me see. We both said that we would lose this game. Blake, are you
Okay.
going to stick with us losing this game?
I think it looks more promising than I think we would have thought
Yeah, I agree.
because, Ravens have been very spotty. Like they're 6-3, but like there's some holes between their armor. We can still get them, and honestly, I think we do have a chance. I think we do have a chance.
Yeah. So what are you thinking? I guess overall, because
I
I feel like I feel
man,
like we because
I
I agree. This doesn't
yeah.
seem as big of a juggernaut as I thought that because they could have a great game or they could have it seems like that where it's the swinging of greatness or missing and giving up big plays.
It's always just our game plan. Like that's always what it comes down to. Like, will they do the stuff that just like is simple? Like throw the screens, give it to our playmakers and have them miss tackles, you know, basically just blitz them a bunch, fake blitz, and have them just keep guessing. Have Lamar Jackson just keep guessing because as he is getting better at passing, but he's not that pure passer. So with that, I'm just gonna be optimistic.
Okay.
I I'm not gonna be Debbie Downer and say that we're gonna lose this game. I'm gonna say after Justin Fields, his crazy quarter 4 performance, dots everywhere, just giving out footballs and beautiful spiral passes to everyone. I'm gonna say we're gonna break 30 points this week. I don't know if that's
Oh
crazy to
wow.
say, but I'm gonna
Oh.
say it. I think it's kind of crazy, but I think we're gonna break 30 points. Um, with that being said, I'll say 31. I want to say 17, but I don't know
Oh
if this
man.
team can pull it off.
That'd be nuts.
That would be nuts. I'm gonna say 31-27
31-27.
Bears.
All right. Well, Blake, bold.
Maybe
You
I'm
know,
just crazy. Maybe I'm, I
we're
spent
riding the high.
riding the high for sure.
I mean, hopefully we are able to continue that. And Blake, so I said this last time that we did a pregame show, a preview, that if they lose to the Steelers, I'm not going to pick them. I'm because they hurt me. I'm not going to pick them.
Okay.
And we talked about it that the Ravens, this isn't as bad of a matchup. They are beatable. They are human. You can see when you put pressure on Lamar, he's not able to get the ball out properly. But I'm still going to have to go with the Baltimore Ravens. I still think that this is a very good team. It seems like also whenever I don't know, whenever a team were like, oh, the Browns, the defense has not looked good. Yeah, but eventually they're going to just start clicking. And what do you know? They start clicking against us. And it seems like that's always it. Like the 49ers, they started clicking as soon as they played us. So everyone we're that guy from the movie where anyone that he dates just finds their soulmate and gets married. Any team that plays us all of a sudden finds their footing and all of a sudden looks great the next week and just becomes amazing. So to me, the Baltimore Ravens, I think they're going to win. I think they're going to have 27 points. And I'm going back and forth because I think maybe the Bears only have 17. So just to be a little bit optimistic, I'm going to say 27-20. Bears end up losing to the Ravens. So I still think that it's a good game. I just think that overall with this running attack, that they're just going to start scoring a lot more points than we expect. We're going to be a little disappointed in the defense. Maybe
Yeah,
cursing out Kindle Vildor a little bit. We'll see. But that's where I don't feel great about this team. I don't feel great about this matchup. But Blake, I hope I'm wrong. I hope
definitely. Yeah, you're definitely a lot more you're more realistic than my
they
approach.
hurt me.
I almost did 31-17, and Oh my god, I hope it is. But
Yeah.
like you take into account the coaching and, just the Ravens franchise. They're even though they are not doing the best, like they're 6-3 for a reason. And it's just because they are a good franchise. They have an amazing coach. Their
Yeah,
quarterback's doing well, and they're just a well sound team, and we're not. That's why we're 3-6.
for sure. Just watching them, you're like, this team very well coached. That them running out of the pistol, that just being a team that and building your offense around a player like Lamar Jackson, where anybody you have to change your game plan, like we said. That is a brilliant strategy. Takes a fantastic coach to be able to do that. And I think the only way, so me saying that the Bears could lose, and my prediction is that the Bears lose, the Bears can win, obviously, but I
Mhm.
I think it definitely is on the shoulders of Justin Fields. Because can you imagine Soldier Field, Justin Fields having a 300-yard passing game,
Oh my god.
running like running
Oh,
for like 50, 70 yards and 300 yards passing? You're not going to beat us in that atmosphere. The Bears fans have been waiting too long. We will be the loudest fans in the world if we see him throw for over
I would
300
be
yards.
crying, Brad. I would be crying so much, just tears of joy. Like, oh my
Oh,
gosh.
we
Yeah,
have him. We
we
finally
have
have a
the quarter.
quarterback.
I would be. Oh my gosh, I'd be done for. I'd be that week. Even if we do lose, but he passes for like 300 plus yards, I'm gonna be just the happiest little camper the entire week.
Yeah. And then, because you know what? After this next game, I believe, is Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So it'll be a very interesting thing, and we'll be able to hopefully then eat. And at least we'll be eating so much because we'll be able to watch the Detroit Lions versus the Bears. But that's in another week. We have the Ravens coming in, and that about does it for our game preview of the Baltimore Ravens versus the Chicago Bears. So hopefully we're going to be celebrating a victory come Sunday, but make sure to stay tuned. Make sure to also follow us, Unbearable Sports on Instagram, Unbearable Sport on Twitter. And also, Blake, we finally have our own Twitter handle. So, Blake, how can people follow you?
Johnny PayPal. It's exactly what it sounds. It's Johnny with two N's and then PayPal. That's also my Twitch account. That's like my gamer tag for Xbox. So Johnny PayPal 22 actually. So if you want to friend me on Xbox, go right ahead.
Yeah. So you can follow him at Johnny PayPal, and you can also follow me at the Draft Bard. So there's a story behind that, but not for today. So let's close this all up. Thank you all so much. And Unbearable Sports Podcast. We're out.
See ya. There you go.
Here, just leave.
Ah, there you go.